What's up, guys? So it's been a while since I posted anything. We've kind of been neck deep in the middle of just trying to figure out little stuff, but today's a big day. The nose cone's on, the wiring is roughed in. These are pull wires that we're going to use. The underside of the nose cone is all foamed in. We used spray foam and rigid foam inside of there. Got the bottom put up Saturday over the weekend, and we're actually getting ready to do primer prep, and hopefully midweek we're going to be spraying this thing and you're actually going to see a finished product instead of a busted camper. So wanted to go over some of the stuff. Noah's going to come up here and just show you the bottom side of what we've done. This is all new Luan. We use Luan. Again, it's lightweight, and what we're putting back is going to have some structure to it. Everything under here is all spray foamed in, new wood put in, screwed up. We don't need to do anything crazy with structure up here. We put the door back in for now. We're actually going to take the door off and prep inside of all of this. I'm going to show you on the bedroom slide how we're doing that. But if you come around here, the sides are all done. Sorry, we're doing this kind of live, but the sides are done. This red line is our color line. So we're gonna get rid of this brown, thank goodness. It's gonna match my truck, which is a Ram 2500 in Delmonico red. This line right here, over to the front of the nose will be Delmonico. From here back is going to be a dark, not crazy dark, but a darker gray. And then right in here, we're going to have a belt line of a high gloss black. But the whole thing is all going to be one basic material. And again, it'll make more sense as we prep this thing. Let's walk over here to the bedroom slide, and I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we're getting ready to do. One of the big design issues that I've seen with this camper and every other camper is you've got dissimilar material. So when this was original, there was TPO that came down to here, and then there was a seam right here that went from TPO to fiberglass. And this seam is notorious for leaking. Everybody knows it leaks. A lot of solutions are to put metal roofing on, go back to TPO, try to seal this up. The other issue that we've got is this panel right here, the wood stops. So you've got wood and fiberglass here. There's no flashing, there's no tape, there's no nothing. So if the window leaks a little bit, as soon as it gets into this trim panel here, it's going to go into the wall, and then it goes everywhere. It's crazy. So we're actually, when we spray this, we're going to spray all the way into the inside. So this whole thing is basically flashed with the same material that we're using on the rest of the camper. The front of the slide, the whole thing's going to get sprayed. Again, we've got our line. This will be Delmonico. This will be gray. We're spraying it outside because we're also going to, where the slide opening is, we're going to spray that opening with basically flashing as well. So the process is going to be, we're going to spray this, the interior of this, with one material, get it tight, everything will be done. Then we'll spray the exterior, get the paint lines in, and get all that taken care of and done. And then we'll spray the rest of the camper. So there's going to be a lot of steps, and I'm not going to get into all of the steps. It's probably going to be, I think, a solid 12, 14 hour day. We'll spray one whole side, so probably 2 days worth of work to get this whole thing done. But this is basic mock-up of what you can see here, and now over the next couple of days we'll get finished product. So we're going to hit pause for a second, and I'm going to show you some new stuff up on the roof. And we'll be right back. All right, guys, so I'm up here by myself. It's a little hard to video on the basket, but this is the transition between the roof and the wall. This is where a lot of the problems come into play, and this is our solution that I've come up with. So if you see there's a ridge right here. This ridge is the new gutter. And what we're going to do is we're going to force the water to either go off the back or we're going to force it to go off the front. And a couple of reasons I'm doing that. One, this whole area right here is the weakest part of the camper, and it was the most neglected part of the camper. I'll get into it when we get down below, but I'll show you some of the stuff that we're changing. But the material up here is going to be an aliphatic polyurea, and it's going to carry the whole roof all the way across. We'll come over here. It's going to go over this transition, and it's going to go down 2 inches onto the sidewall. I'm also going to lay 3 layers of fiberglass right here at this transition. We haven't done anything yet, so I've still got to prep this edge and get it beveled off. But we're going to lay fiberglass mat in here. And the reason I'm doing this up here, this is the rub rail. So imagine going into a forest or going into a campground that's got a bunch of trees, and the first thing that you get into on the roof is a tree limb hanging on here, and this is where it's going to rub. When we get done with this, if it rubs right here, first of all, the stronger the material underneath the polyurea, the stronger the polyurea is. Second of all, if you actually get a tree limb strong enough that it can grab a hold of this and tear this, separate, there's a mechanical and a chemical bond that's going to be going on here. But if you get into a tree limb big enough that you rub this off, let's say that oh my gosh, I didn't catch it and I rubbed 2 feet of this off right here. Well, the good news is there's going to be fiberglass underneath it, and that's going to be really difficult to damage. The fiberglass mat and the resin and everything, I wouldn't call it completely waterproof. I wouldn't want to go boating in it, but it's definitely water resistant enough that if you're at a campground, you know you got a problem, you don't have to get up in the middle of the night and rain and all that kind of stuff and stand on the ladder. You know you got a problem. You're going to finish your camping trip up. You're going to bring it back to us. We'll take, basically we're going to take 40 grit sandpaper. We're going to sand this whole place down. Depending on how bad it is, we can go back. We can either respray it. If that's all it is, we could go in and do a fiberglass repair. We could do a wood repair, whatever needs to be done. This is not going to be a catastrophic failure or a place that a huge amount of damage is going to happen. And because there's basically the same material up here as there is on the wall, there's not going to be any roof maintenance. They're not dissimilar materials. There's no transition pieces. There's no screws. You're not going to see Phillips screws up in here. You're not going to see a wall that's got a whole line of screws that go down the side of this camper, because every one of those screws is a place to leak. Actually, there's an earlier video that shows all of the rusted screws in this camper because of all the water damage. You're going to notice we don't have the rear slides taken out. That's going to be a later project. We've got some other big stuff going on here that we need to get this thing done. We've got a camping spot. The NHRA Grand Nationals are at the racetrack just a couple miles away, and we've got a camping spot there at the end of the month. So we got to get this sucker done so we can go have a little fun and take a break. But the roof is screwed down into the trusses. All of these transition pieces, where the transition is, this is glued in. The way this polyurea lays, it will fill this void in and actually glue the rest of this together. So once we're going to roll fiberglass resin onto here. Basically the fiberglass resin is nothing but a primer. It soaks into the wood. We're going to put a couple coats of that down. It soaks into the wood, raises the grain just enough. It gives us a chemical and a mechanical bond, and this stuff is almost indestructible. Here's another, this is notorious. This is the transition piece from the old roof, used to lay underneath here, and then the nose cap was on top of this. There was a transition piece that screwed in right here. There's an earlier video that shows how bad all the screw holes were. But what we're going to do here is there will be fiberglass up to here. This is already fiberglass. I need to peel the rest of this decal off, but we'll peel the decal off, and I'm gonna fiberglass filler into this piece, so this will be nice and smooth. We'll scuff this piece. We're gonna scuff this back up so we can get the color and transition to match. But when you look at this camper when it's all done, if water, imagine water comes down here. Sorry, it's hard to get this all at the same, but say water's running down here. In the old camper, it would come here, it would pile up, it would try to go somewhere. You would hope that Dicor was in the right spot. It was pooling up right here. It leaked down into the nose of the camper. Because of all of this, you had wood, TPO, a roof truss underneath, fiberglass on top, Dicor here, a metal trim, metal screws. You also had they had some butyl under here, so there's 5 or 6 different materials all trying to take care of a transition. When we're done, there's one. There's going to be polyurea that comes up, goes over the top of all of these transitions, and just keeps right on going up the roof. So again, our gutter, water on the roof will not get past this. It's not going to go uphill. So water will slide down. It'll run right over this transition. Will be nice and smooth, so water is not going to care. It's going to go right off the front of the trailer. It's going to go right off the back of the trailer, and that's the only place it's going. That's what the roof looks like before we really get into it. Now we're going to hit pause again. We're going to jump down into the inside of the trailer, and we'll show you what's up. Be right back. Hey, we're back, and now we're inside at the back of the camper. This wall, when we got started, this whole wall was soaking wet. We've been inside. This thing had been inside and hadn't seen water in like 4 or 5 months, and we got into this area right down here, and we were still wiping wet wood off, and we even had the back end taken apart. So I'm just amazed at how far water will get in and go away, and not go away, but get into all different parts, and it just keeps following gravity until it soaks everything up. But this is all rebuilt. We've still got to glue this panel in place and do some spray foam into the seams to tighten all this up. But there's a new floor down. The floor was carriage bolted in the rear like the factory had it, and then I went in with 1/4-inch rivets at the front and tied the floor joists together. We've got 2 windows that go in here. Again, when we spray, we're going to mask back here. So when I'm spraying, I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to tie the outside wall, the inside wall, the transition to the styrofoam, and the very edge of the inside wall is all going to be the same material. So if water does get in here, if water starts to soak in here, it's got nowhere to go. It's either going to go down and go out, or it's going to go down and come inside, and you're going to see your leak. And I'm going to show you how we're going to seal the windows up. The window caulking is going to be completely different as well. But this is our roof system that we built. I showed you how to build these trusses in another video. Insulation was almost non-existent in this thing. There was a 3-inch roll or batt fiberglass. They had it 8 feet wide, and they rolled it front to back. And over every single truss, they smashed the insulation down and stapled the OSB into the trusses. So every single truss had no insulation. When you smash fiberglass insulation, there's no insulation value. We've gone back. There's styrofoam inside these trusses. They're 4 inches tall. There's already 2 inches of rigid up here. There's going to be another 2 inches. We're going to tie the wires in, and then we're going to foam in the seams to tighten all this up. So the foam and the trusses will all act as one. This gaping hole right here, we've got a mini split ceiling cassette on the way. We're going to bring this ceiling down. There's going to be a little bit of a bump right here, so this runs level to the trailer when we're set up. And then the ceiling cassette will go up, and the outside will just have a little bump here. The service ports will all be inside. Ceiling cassette for the mini split hangs out here. Line set goes across, and we turn this back wall into, it's a structural back wall. There's a board that still needs to be attached up here, but this has all got rigid styrofoam. It's all riveted in on the outside, and when we get ready to put the mini split on the back wall, we can actually, we're going to go through and put a backing plate on this side, screw in the mini split bracket, and basically you're going to have to take this whole back wall off to get the mini split out. Wiring's just roughed in. We're going to make a wire chase right here. So all of this is going to go down. We'll have it zip tied together nice and neat, and there will be a piece of paneling that goes at an angle right here just to soften these corners up, but it gives the wires some place to go that if we ever want to mess with them or do anything, we've got access and we don't have to tear the rest of the trailer apart. The other thing I want to talk about, and I think this is probably one of the biggest changes that we made, when this camper was built, they build the walls flat, they vacuum it, seal everything together, everything's glued. There wasn't an ounce, there wasn't one single fastener holding this wall together. So in the front, when water damage happened, the front didn't have any structure to it. The sidewalls didn't have any structure to it other than the aluminum, and it works. And that's, I'm just trying to improve on it. I'm not trying to re-engineer the whole trailer. But right here at this transition, this wood piece is new. I'm actually going to use this wood piece as a nailer for the wall. It'll be a nailer for the wood trim, the little corner moldings that we're going to put up. And it's a nice transition from the roof truss to the wall. But before, they had, the roof came down, it barely set on the wall, top of the wall plate up here, and it moved. It could flex back and forth like this because there was nothing but a couple of, they had zip screws that they just ran in here. So when you were going down the road, you could actually see the trailer doing just a little bit of, there's just a little bit of movement up here, and obviously as it goes down the road, it can get worse and worse. They had it screwed in good enough, and the OSB, the 1/2-inch OSB, was doing most of the work to keep all of this. What I didn't like about it is I didn't like that pivot point, because that pivot point is where all the leaks happen. So I've done tons and tons of work on semi-trailers, and that's not how they build semi-trailers. The way they build semis is you've got a flat panel, and then there's an angle or a piece of aluminum structure at the top, and the roof joists or ceiling joists, whatever you want to call them, they bolt in, but there's a long plate to them, and the roof turns structural because instead of having something that sits like this and it can pivot, it sits like this, and it becomes a box, so to speak. So that's what we've done here. This is the outside wall. So it's actually engaged. This is 3/4 inch. This is 4 inches. So there's 4 3/4 inches of exterior wall attached to the roof truss. The roof truss is bolted with a carriage bolt, and actually, if Noah steps right back here, you can see there's a carriage bolt right here. This is the only one that gave me a fit. There's not a fender washer on this one. All of the rest of them have a fender washer. There's one back here. All the rest of them have a fender washer. There's a carriage bolt that goes all the way through the roof truss, the top plate, and then the trailer aluminum, and bolts in here, and they've all got red Loctite. So this truss isn't going anywhere. And if it does start to flex, it can't flex because it's going to have to move the wall. The wall sits here, the truss sits like this, it's in a box. So the whole thing has to move as a unit. It's taking the stress away from this. The wall still, there's a lot of length, there's a lot of height there. So everything's going to move a little bit. But most of the movement is going to happen just naturally because it's a long piece. And that happens. It happens in semi-trailers. It happens everywhere. You can't make this thing so rigid that it doesn't move. It's not like a shipping container. But we want to slow the movement down as much as possible. So this is a huge change. And if you take, so we've got 3/8 plywood on the exterior. We're going to have a fiberglass transition piece that will basically cover this entire area on the outside. There's not a dissimilar material from the roof to the wall. It's all one continuous piece. We're going to spray the walls first, and then we're actually going to overlay, so the spray material will be on the wall, and then we're going to overlap the roof, so all the drips and everything will be underneath that. So there'll be another drip edge on this side. And like I told Stacy, if it leaks at that point, then we'll call the fire department once it's on the ground. I don't know how much I'm joking about that, but anyway, that's how the transition pieces are going. The wiring's done. We've got a little bit of insulation left to do yet, and we're going to put the mini split in. But today is fiberglass day. Fiberglass resin, fiberglass mat, some sanding. So I'm going to stop talking and get to work. If you guys have questions, as always, send them off in comments. I'm going to post this to YouTube. If I don't get to some of the social media content, last night at like 9 o'clock, I was getting ready to go to bed, and I had like 15 questions come through. I don't know why Facebook, some of them were 10 days old, and they just popped up in my notifications that somebody had a question. So reach out to the shop, send us an email, call us if you want, do whatever you want to do there. But if you've got questions, we're getting close to having this thing done, and hopefully we can line up another one that's not as extensive. I'd love to be able to just do this on the roof without doing the sidewalls, or just spray a roof to tighten that up as well. There's a lot of options with this, but we went to this extent, one, to train us, and two, because there was so much damage on the camper. But hey, now we know we can do it. So anyway, back to work. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.